In this video I want to talk about a subject which is becoming ever more popular as the crypto bull run carries on. Is Cardano and in fact ADA becoming overvalued? And of course in the final analysis, value is always a subjective matter as every person will have their own opinion of what a fair value actually is, and also what the best way to measure value is. And so there is always going to be some disagreement about valuations, but having said that, there are certain indicators and factors which we can consider that will give us a good idea of the current situation of any asset in terms of whether it's undervalued, overvalued, or fairly valued. In my opinion, the short answer to the question, is Cardano overvalued, is no. And does that mean that the price is going to rise from here? Well, in the long term I think so, but as always that doesn't mean that a crash or a pullback isn't on the cards, as markets are cyclical and nothing ever moves in a straight line. Now the number one way to measure the value of an asset is to look at the income which it produces and the income which it is likely to produce over time, and then compare that to the available alternatives. For example, a fixed income interest rate product like a government bond or a bank account which allows you to lock in savings for a number of years. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video so far and you're an ADA investor or you want to get into crypto, be sure to subscribe for all of our new content and you'd be doing me a great service. Anyway, right now the prevailing interest rate here in the UK is around 0.5% per year. And it's even lower in the USA at an appalling 0.04% per year. Now in either case the interest rate is creating the illusion of an income, but actually when the rate of inflation in the currency is higher than the rate of interest you're receiving, you're actually losing money. And even when we look at the government's consumer price index, which they use as a primary measure of inflation, we're still at 2% per year in both the US and the UK, which is higher than the rate of interest in any case. And this only applies if you believe the figures which are quoted here and you believe that they aren't cherry-picking products and purposely leaving out others to manipulate the figure and arrive at a conclusion which suits their policy objectives. Now savings are effectively earning no money, in fact they're losing money by being held in a bank account, and so nobody in their right mind is holding money in a fixed interest rate bank account or in government bonds. And in comparison, ADA is producing a staking yield of around 4.6% per year, which is way better than the prevailing interest rate, and it's even better because ADA is non-inflationary. In fact, the value of ADA is rising over time because although the supply is fixed for all practical purposes, as more people are finding out about and adopting Cardano, the amount of ADA per active user or investor is falling. And so unlike the supply of dollars or pounds, which is always increasing, and actually at an alarming rate over the last year, the value of ADA is not being systematically destroyed, which is always a good place to start. And so not only is the staking yield of ADA beating the interest rate which you could otherwise get, but it's also beating the return which you could get in the stock market as well. If we look at the earnings yield of the S&P 500, which is the best single measure of US equities, we're talking an earnings yield of around 2.5%, which is again around 2% lower than the staking yield of ADA. And remember that income is only one part of the performance of any asset, the other part is of course appreciation. And with a 3000% gain, perhaps more over the last year in market value, the performance of ADA is unmatched by any other major asset class. Now the reason that I felt it was so important to discuss the alternatives like fixed interest rate products and equities is because the chief way to judge the value of an asset is to consider the alternatives. What else can I get for my money? And with interest on savings losing money for the investor when adjusted for inflation, and the stock market yielding a pitiful earnings yield of around 2.5%, ADA, in my opinion, is not overvalued, because the level of income and the average rate of appreciation which I'm getting in ADA is better than almost any other place outside of crypto. But then again, valuation is subjective and many other investors may come to a conclusion which is contrary to my own. Anyway, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and again if you're not subscribed, don't wait any longer and don't miss out on any more content.